Tom kicks off today's game with a plains and a sacred cat. Extra then plays an island, followed by Sam, who plays a forest and casts Utopia Mycon, while John ends the first turn cycle with a mountain and a goblin chirurgeon. On Tom's second turn, he plays a plains, then swings his cat at Extra for 1. He then passes the Extra. Extra plays an island and casts a Smuggler's Copter, before passing the turn. On Sam's upkeep, Utopia Mycon triggers, giving itself a Spore counter. He then plays a forest and gives the turn to John. John plays a mountain, casts a Moria Marauder, then hands the turn back to Tom. Tom plays a plains and casts a Welcoming Vampire, before attacking Extra with his cat and passing him the turn. Extra plays an island, followed by his commander, Neerdiv, Devious Diver. Next he cruises Copter with Neerdiv, triggering her effect to mill himself for 2. He goes to combat, sending his crude Copter at Tom, triggering its effect to draw and discard. After the damage is dealt, he passes. On Sam's upkeep, Utopia Mycon triggers, giving itself another counter. He plays a forest, then casts his commander, Shroofus Sproutsire, and gives the turn to John. John plays a mountain, then continues the commander casting train with General Kreat, the Boltbringer. He goes to combat, using Moria to attack Extra, triggering Kreat to make an attacking goblin, while also dealing 1 damage to each opponent. Moria then triggers, exiling 2 cards, forgetting it triggers for all goblins. With nothing else to do, he gives the turn back to Tom. Tom plays the plains, and finishes the commander quartet with Arahbo, the first claw. When Arahbo enters, he makes a cat, triggering Vampire to draw. Next he attacks John with both his Sacred Cat and Vampire, then passes to Extra. Extra first cruises Copter with Neerdiv, triggering her effect, milling 2 once more. He goes to combat, attacking John with his Copter, triggering its effect to draw and discard. In his second main, he plays an island and casts Archmage's Newt, before passing the turn to Sam. On Sam's upkeep, Utopia Mycon triggers, giving itself another counter. He plays a forest, before casting a Harrow, sacrificing a forest to get 2 new ones, followed by a Fight Rigging, triggering its Hideaway 5 to exile a card face down. At the start of combat, Fight Rigging triggers, giving Shroofus counter, and with no good attacks, he passes the turn. John first casts Lightning Bolt on Extra's Newt, clearing the way for an all-out attack at Extra, triggering Kreat to make an attacking goblin and deal 1 to each opponent. Moria triggers again, exiling his top 2, continuing to forget how the effect works. In his second main, he casts a Seer Slicer Goblin, triggering Kreat, followed by an end-of-turn trigger of Seer Slicer to make a goblin and trigger Kreat 1 final time. Tom plays a Minas Tirith, then casts a Caretaker's Talent, which he immediately activates to make a cat copy, triggering both Talent and Vampire to draw a total of 2 cards. He then sends his Sacred Cat and Vampire at John, before passing the turn to Extra, who still in the end step, activates and exiles his Halo Scarab, triggering Neerdiv to gain a counter and draw, while the Scarab makes a treasure. On his turn, Extra plays an island, and once again cruise Copter with Neerdiv, this time milling 3 cards. He goes to combat, sending his Copter at John, triggering its effect to draw and discard. In his second main, he activates and exiles Lackey, triggering Neerdiv to add a counter and draw, while Lackey makes a fish. Next he casts a Paradise Mantle, followed by a Silent Departure on Kreat. Once that's done, he passes, and Sam makes a Saproling on end step with his Mycon. On Sam's upkeep, Utopia Mycon triggers, giving itself a Spore counter. He first casts a Thelanite Hermit, then goes straight to combat, triggering Fight Rigging on Shroofus, which he sends at Extra alongside his Saproling. Before damage, Extra jumps in with a Pongify on Shroofus, making sure his Saproling army is contained. After the damage is dealt, he passes. John once again casts General Kreat, the Boltbringer, and goes to combat, sending Moria and Seer Slicer at Tom, while the 3 goblins go at extra. Kreat triggers, making an additional attacking goblin that goes at extra, alongside an additional 1 damage when it enters. John manages to remember how Moria works, and as such, he exiles his top 7 cards, playing a mountain from among them, before passing it back to Tom. Tom plays a Plains, and casts Bofanoketra's Monument, and Jazal Goldmane, triggering Monument to make a Warrior, Talent and Vampire to draw 2, and Arahbo to make a Cat. Next is Combat, where Tom sends Arahbo at extra, and both his Sacred Cat and Vampire at John. After the battle, he gives the turn to Extra, not knowing what is about to transpire. Extra plays an island, then quickly equips his mantle or Neerdiv, using her new effect to add a blue mana and trigger her previous effect to mill 4. Next he casts a Pemin Zora on Neerdiv, which causes the table to let out a sigh. Extra then does a quick demonstration, using Aura to untap Neerdiv, followed by once again using Neerdiv to make a blue, triggering her effect to mill Tom. He is able to do this as many times as he wants, milling out each opponent, and giving himself the win.